Gongola People's Cultural Fiesta 2025 was essentially organized by the Adama United Forum, AUF, the Gongola People's Forum, the Nigerians Indigenous Language Development Council, not the word indigenous, for the indigenous people. Then we have the Numan Federation Foundation, NFF, 3KT, and other social cultural associations. So from the mission of this coalition of indigenous cultural associations, you can see the need for coming together for peace. As you've rightly pointed out, we cannot move forward as a society in a distorted situation. The impact or the message that we want to pass through is to show that there were people in this environment before other people came, referring to as far back as 1750, when migration of the indigenous people ended. Before 1750, there were no other migration. By 1750, the Kote people, the Margi people, the Kamo people, the Bura people, the Igbo people, the Ibra people, the Janjo Ijo people have finished that migration, and every other ethnic nationality are taking possession of its own environment. And since then, this environment will be living harmoniously from our ancestors.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on LifeHub Podcast, where we talk about trends and key events happening in our society. My name is Ruth Lawan.
Hello everyone, I'm Tumba Mercy. Thank you for joining us. So today we'll be talking about something very interesting, which is the cultural carnival that recently occurred in the city of Yola, Adamawa State. And we have a guest with us today, but before we introduce our guest, we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, the show continues.
Welcome back. Like we said, today is the cultural day for us here in Adamawa State. As you can see, me and my co-host, Mercy, we are already dressing in a cultural attire to tell you that we are here to cover you. But anyways, that's on a lighter note. Joining us in dissecting the entire issue on the Gongola People's Cultural Fiesta today is no other but Professor Caleb Philly. You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Mercy.
Thank you for joining us, and we are actually glad because you are the right person to discuss with or to tell us a lot about this entire event that happened in Adamawa State, knowing fully well that you are the central chairman planning committee of the event.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind the entire celebration, the entire planning in Adamawa State?
Thank you, Ruth, for that, for having me and for asking me about what is it that inspired. You know, if you're talking about inspiration, it has something to do with provocation. But provocation, not in the negative terms, but in the positive terms. The inspiration was motivated by the needs of the Gongola people to trace their roots and to find their identity. And within the boundaries of Adamawa State, we have about 80 ethnic nationalities. And what I mean by these ethnic nationalities are the people that by originality, they are part of the foundation of the environment that has been carved out as Adamawa people. And it is very important for us to identify each cultural nationality to come under one umbrella so that for us to know ourselves and to discover our cultural values, identity, and values. Secondly, you may note that the government of Adamawa State created 7 chiefdoms and emirates. And when we're talking about chiefdom, you are talking about the culture of people. There are no people without cultures, and there are no cultures without language, and there's no people cannot exist without environment. So we found it necessary for us to carry out, to celebrate this creation, and know that the creation of the chiefdoms, it is just a revelation that what has been lost, that we are taking back. And that is the whole thing about the inspiration. I may equally note that the first edition of this kind of event was last year, who took place on the 29th June 2024. And we call that Cultural Summit. And we found it necessary that this inspiration is timeless, because culture is timeless. So in order to bring this to visibility for especially younger people like you, we are trying to prepare a platform whereby it will not be lost again. We've lost it before as a result of some kind of carelessness. But the inspiration is to ensure that it becomes timeless.
It's just really good one. But it's always important that we're reminded of where we are from. So that is also our second question. What exactly is the impact or the core value that this carnival intends to pass to the people of Adamawa State?
Yeah, thank you, Mercy, for your question. It is very simple. The impact or the message that we want to pass through is to show that there were people in this environment before other people came. You can be in a place and someone can come and override you. But what we want to really show the impact is for us to showcase that there were people there. And these people, somehow, they have been marginalized socially, economically, and politically. And we find a lot of pressures coming from all forms, and the population is increasing. And we are talking about social inclusiveness. So it is necessary for us to showcase and make people, the world, to understand that the question of ethnic nationalities or indigenous people, we are referring to as far back as 1750, when migration of the indigenous people ended. Before 1750, there were no other migration. By 1750, the Kote people, the Margi people, the Kamo people, the Bura people, the Igbo people, the Ibra people, the Ijo people have finished that migration. And every other ethnic nationality have taken possession of its own environment. And since then, this environment we've been living harmoniously from our ancestors. But somehow, there was distortion. Where there was graduation, some other people came and distorted our system. So the impact, we are saying that we are not fighting with any other person. But all we want to really show is there was someone before someone.
That brings me to the next question, which I am very much curious to ask, because you're talking about uh, the culture and ensuring how we can preserve it to some certain extent. It just brings me to the recent events that happened here in Adamawa State. How can we blend this in whereby we can actually promote or ensure that we talk to people in our community, people who who always ensure that they live in an environment despite the fact they have different kind of disparity. How can we contribute in making sure that people in our environment live in peace? Looking at the recent event that happened in Lamurde, how can we blend this in?
The Gongola People's Cultural Fiesta 2025 was essentially organized by the Adamawa United Forum, AUF, the Gongola People's Forum, the Nigerians Indigenous Language Development Council, not the word indigenous, for the indigenous people. Then we have the Numan Federation Foundation, NFF, 3KT, and other social cultural associations. So from the mention of this coalition of indigenous cultural associations, you can see the need for coming together for peace. As you've rightly pointed out, we cannot move forward as a society in a distorted situation. We must come together. And that is why for GPF, the Gongola People's Forum, we have a standing committee that is dealing with the reconciliation process. The situation in Lamurde and even elsewhere, like in Komana, we are receiving a lot of other conflicts that are coming to our desk. For what? For deliberation, bringing people together so that they'll be able to understand. The whole problem of conflict is always lack of understanding. If there's an understanding and we're able to have an idea of the existence of each and everybody, then we'll be able to provide solution for harmony, unity, and progress. And we are doing a lot of things towards that. And we want to equally put it across abundantly clear. Some of these conflicts, there are people that feel they are benefiting from them. They try to instigate communities. But our purpose and objective is to eliminate this kind of vices, such that at the end of the day, every other person, individual, whoever he is, will understand that our cultural values have no boundaries. They have no boundaries, and that is what we want to promote for coexistence peacefully.
That's really impressive. And now that you mentioned that what the organization aims at promoting these cultures, where do the young people come in? Because we used to now, you guys will be handing over to the young people. So how do you engage them? Like, what role can the young people play in the organization as it is? How do you engage young people in this cultural fiestas?
The young people, they keep saying that you are the leaders of tomorrow. But though I can see young people complaining that they cannot see the leadership. And that is the purpose why we want to bring history. If you want to know where you are coming from, you have to trace and go back to your history. Our ancestors couldn't understand that the things they took for granted has led us to where we are. Because our ancestors were because we are, and we are because they were. And at the same time, for the living generation now, we want to put it on a concrete platform, very clear and very bold, that the younger generation have a bigger responsibility, because what we did is actually a historical responsibility, because it is history that is informing us to do what we did, and it will continue to inspire us and to motivate us to push forward so that this agenda can be driven. So it is very essential for the young people to key into this agenda. And that is why in GPF, Gongola People's Forum, we have the Youth Forum, and which I'm advocating for some of you to join. Because if we want to move forward, there must not be a missing link. And my cry for this work is, I'm imagining the child that would be born in 100 years' time. He will be born into an environment with circumstances that was not made by him.
Yeah.
Our ancestors gave birth to us, and they thought that it was going to be easy, without knowing that it was really a disaster. And what we want to control the disaster, so that younger people like you can pick up from there.
Talking about younger people, sir, one of the things that is happening in our environment these days is situations where people adopt Western culture. People prefer doing things in a Western kind of ways, especially with the younger people, which we always admit such things. You see people or younger people getting married and naming their children in foreign names, forgetting the kind of culture and traditional names we have and we prioritize. And meanwhile, the Western people preserve their own culture. They prioritize their own culture. So what would you tell the people watching and listening to us right now concerning preserving our culture?
You are bringing me to another limelight. And like the African society, we seem to have lost it. And we lost it because we have our own civilization. Civilization in terms of our own health system, even architectural design. You know, our ancestors and the food we eat. I keep saying, before most of you are born, or let me say, 40 years ago down the drain, the kind of deaths and the disease that we see today, they were not there. You will see a 90-year-old person who will be trekking for like 5 kilometers to his farm, still very strong. It means he got those things from what he eats. And that is the reason why UNESCO, as the body of the UN, that is United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, came into place shortly after the Second World War. And the simple reason is, it was because of the hatred against certain people. And UN came together and said that every forms of civilization came out of a culture. This attire you are using is somebody's culture. They have developed it even in pharmacy, in architectural design, medicine, and all forms of civilization. And what you are talking about, you are talking about our core cultural values.
Yeah.
The way, like when we were young children, what I saw within communities, within the houses of communities over 15 or 6 as the case may be, people eat meals together. They gather at a certain place, they come together, they eat. And for the people that we used to go around our houses and we share in whatever we do, hatred was not there, and denials and what have you. And from my experience, what I've seen in Europe is Europeans are having a similar kind of approaches, but our difference with them is they don't come together. But for us, we come together. Like we wake up in the morning and say, Mama Koramba, how are you doing? Mr. Ibrahim, how are you? Mala Mohammed Akatashio. These are the kind of things we share. And that is why within the Gongola People's Forum, we don't promote division of religion. We look at our people in commonness of identity. That is, if you are a Huberman, that is a Muslim or a Christian, you have the same common DNA. Because DNA is the common thing to humanity. Even if you see a Kamui man that is a Muslim or a Margi man, we are all together. And these cultural practices, it is one of the things that we want to really revive. And why do we need to revive them? Within these cultures, they are loaded with economy. Like, if you look at, if you go to this place in Gombe, Kaltungo, Biliri, they have a lot of cases of snake bite there because they have a lot of these reptiles within the environment.
Yes.
And every time, you have to get venoms in the hospitals in order as anti-snake bite and what have you. But traditionally, there's a black stone, which is African culture. And once there's a snake bite is placed on the wound, it tends to retrieve and withdraw the poison. Have we upgraded this? If we have upgraded this, we'll have reversed the amount of money that we'll be using on these pharmaceuticals. It's not only that, even as analgesics like Panadol, what have you. One of my friends was telling me they used to go out his father on the farm, and whenever they are tired, the father will cut one leaf and gives him, and he becomes very strong. This is our core value of Africa. And if, as a scientist, I believe that we can tap these values and inject them into the mainstream of our economy, and we'll be able to showcase to the global community this is the core values of Africa, and we'll be able to prove them, and we prove the foreign exchange. You understand? That is connected the global world that is the global south with the global north. So when we're talking about culture, it's not a small thing. There are so many things out there we want to recapture. Though there are people that believe that we should forget about them. But as long as DNA exists, because it's coded in our DNA, we continue to pursue it and continue to advocate and create awareness among our people that culture is you. Your culture is your brand.
We've been watching and listening to a lot of things here, and I know and I'm sure that I have learned a lot. We'll be going on a short break. We'll be back. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. We've been discussing so many important things. Personally, I've learned a lot. Many things I don't even know. And I'm learning today from our professor and daddy in the house. So, Sab, I have another very important question as regards to this cultural carnival fiesta. What economic value is it bringing to the state? Because it's obviously Adamawa State is the host of this cultural fiesta. What economic value does it add to the state?
Economically, it has a lot of potential from the artifacts, the attires, the all forms of the different categories of foods that from mix of cultures. These are the things that can be music, the traditional dances. If these things are properly coordinated, you may realize that even our youth will be running away from this Western music to adopt. So within the economic space.
And feel like a tourist setup.
Yeah, tourist center, we have a very, very important potential for tourism, but we have to deal with the security. And this cultural fiesta is part of the things that can push up, try to stabilize, make people to come back to their communities and whatnot.
So what are the major challenges you've encountered while organizing this entire celebration, I would say?
But is through human history, there are two important factors that limit the growth of society. One is fear. Number two is ignorance. And even within your peer groups, when you want to sell an idea to them, you can find the kind of sweat you put in order to put it into their skull. So it has not been an easy task. Even youth like you, how do we engage and to get you and get you engaged? So it has not been easy. Number two is religious differences. There are people that are feeling that it belongs to the Christian faith, but what have you? But that is not what it is. We try to use inclusiveness. Even pagans, all we're talking about before 1750, before the comes of Islam, Christianity, or what have you, our people have coexisted. So part of the challenges is to get people, get informed, get them aware. And talking to has not been easy. I had about 12 committees, field, entertainment, culture. My head was so hard in dealing with people. The finances have not been easy to. When you're asking someone, you need finances to run. But all the same, we'll be able to go through that, and successfully we've done it. And I urge the indigenous people to imbibe in this, because that's our future.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Caleb Philly, for coming to LifeHub Podcast. We really appreciate. I must say that I have learned a whole lot of things from what you say. I saw videos, I see a lot of things during the entire celebration, but I got more ideas and everything when you got to talk to us about this all. We really appreciate. But lastly, what would you like to tell the people watching us right now and listening to all the things you have been saying all through?
Yeah, what I want to tell people, they should try to find out about their history. Because if you know your history, you can think of what to do and you can plan your life. But if you don't know your history, you're a forgotten person. Because culture is everything. Within culture, we have language. We know culture is a way of life. Language is your identity. These are the kind of things we keep talking about. Encourage people to know where they are coming from. And if you know that you're not part of a system, don't try to oppress, but try to get along so that you'll be able to understand for peaceful coexistence.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We really appreciate every single thing you've told us today. And viewers, this has brought us to the end of today's episode on LifeHub Podcast. We've learned a lot. And for the young ones out there, you've heard If you heard it's very loud, actually, it's time to sit up and do something about the culture of our people. Let's learn to embrace our culture. The white man's culture is not our culture. This is where we are from. This is our roots. So we should learn to embrace every single thing that has to do with us and our people. And like he said, our culture is our brand. Our friend, and to let it out to other people. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned for another interesting episode on LifeHub Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow all our platforms. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.